Well, good morning, son. It's June 3rd, Monday, 2019. I'm on my way to work this morning, and since you're out of state, I thought, well, I really can't share with him my driving tips and tricks and things that I've put together over the years, so I thought I'd shoot you a video and narrate it as I go along so that you can watch it and maybe get something valuable from it. So I've got a checklist here of some things I want to talk about, and I certainly hope that you're doing well. And so come along with me. Let's take a drive. I'll do some small talk here as we're going to get started. Almost got a squirrel there. All right, so let's talk about setup a little bit. I set my mirrors up perhaps differently than most people. I don't want to duplicate anything in my rear view or in my side mirrors that I can see in my rear view mirrors. Yeah, that sun's bright. I was hoping we'd get a little bit of a break from the sun. We'll see how it goes. So what I do then is I set up my side mirrors so that they only overlap just a bit from what I can see in my rear view mirror. So that if something is coming up from behind me or going the other direction, but when it gets to the very edge of where I can see in my rear view mirror, it's already appearing in my side view mirror. And what that also does is it allows me to see along the side of the car, not behind it, because my rear view mirror looks behind the car. So when a vehicle comes up on me and is going to pass me, before it leaves my rear view mirror, it's already seen in my side view mirror. And then before it leaves my side view mirror, it's already in my field of vision out the side window, even if I'm looking straight down the road. So in a sense, I can see all the way around the car in 360 degrees by looking at my mirrors. I don't have to turn my head around and look behind me or anything like that. So I will go to a parking lot when I set the mirrors up for the first time or something like that, and I will, without driving, I'll sit still and I'll look in my rear view mirror, and I will adjust my side view mirror so that I can see in the corner of the side view mirror what I see in the opposite corner on the rear view mirror. Or a quick way to do what I've found is if you adjust your side view mirrors so that you can see along the side of the car if you lean over towards the mirror. So if I lean over towards my left mirror and look very carefully, I can see the door handles along the left side of my car. So that's one tip. Let's see here. Steering wheel and seat. I always try to sit up as high as I can. And I want to have my seat far back enough that my knees, if I move my knees from side to side, they don't knock the center of the steering column. So I want some room then, both on the steering wheel and for my knees. I use Waze, the Waze app, kind of like electronic countermeasures. I don't own a radar detector, never owned a radar detector. But I like the Waze app because it's crowdsourced, and so people are constantly reporting what they see, and so I can see on the map if there's a police or an accident or something like that ahead. I found that to be helpful. When I sit at the steering wheel, usually they tell you to hold the wheel at 10 and 2 or something like that, but I tend to hold the steering wheel at 10 and 4, almost diagonally. Or sometimes at, what would that be, 2 and 8? Rather than both hands on the top quarter of the top half of the steering wheel. So that's a little bit about the setup. Stop. You'll notice when I stop here, I'm stopping far enough back from the truck or the car in front of me that I can actually see the tires where they touch the road. I don't want to pull in too close behind a vehicle, because if for some reason he stalls or I have to go around him before he moves, I want to have the space to do so. Now I'm gonna check my mirrors and change lanes here. Ooh, there's a bus. Yeah, stay away from buses. Buses stop and they're slow to get started, but I'm gonna merge back into traffic. So now that we kind of got going, change lanes, turn signal, check mirrors, moving on. I'm gonna come on ahead. Stoplight. Let me give you my, I got like 3 primary rules, and they're just developed through me driving in traffic, mostly when we were up in Cincinnati, because I had to get to places and I had to get it quickly, and Cincinnati was the first place that we actually had any serious traffic. Rule number 1 is that I don't change lanes unless I've got at least a 2-car advantage in advancement. So for years I would be like, oh, the right lane's moving faster, so I'd change lanes over to the right lane and then not go anywhere and get stuck. And then I'd be like, well, that was a bad decision, I should go back over the left lane, and back and forth, and frustrating. If you've ever seen the opening scene of the movie, what is it, Office Space? It's hilarious. I think it's a Brandon Fraser movie. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's back and forth with a guy in a traffic jam, and every time he moves, the lane that he just got out of then goes ahead and moves. It's hilarious. But anyway, so I never want to change lanes unless I've got at least a 2-car advantage. And so the second rule then is I need to get through the traffic light, and so sometimes I will actually break rule number 1. In order to get through a traffic light. This light's green, so we're probably going to get through okay. One of the things you can look for if you're not sure about when the light's going to change, and the right-hand lane oftentimes slows down, as you see, because people are turning right. I see a 2-car advantage here, but I'm not sure about the light. Yeah, I need to get through the light. There's a bus up here. No, it's a dump truck. I need to get through the light. You can look at the crosswalk sign that faces the pedestrian, and I see that it's still got the guy in the crosswalk, so it's safe to go through. If the light's going to turn yellow, you'll see the flashing "Don't Walk" sign, and sometimes stoplights will even have a countdown timer that'll tell you how many seconds you've got left before the light turns green, or the light turns yellow. Checking my mirrors, I'm going to change lanes here because this traffic pattern shows that people peel off to get on the highway, and so the right lane then opens up as it did. There we go. Know your traffic patterns. The right lane oftentimes gets slowed down because of people turning right or getting on and off and so forth. The left lane's usually moving a little faster, but not always. This is a 3-lane. I will probably want the middle lane more often than not because it gives me the most options. But again, the goal is to make progress. So rule number 1, don't change lanes unless you've got at least a 2-car advantage. And I'll talk more about that with rule number 3. Number 2, get through the traffic light, because if you get stuck at a light, you're going to be delayed for quite a while. And then rule number 3 is kind of it's not a rule so much as it is just a practice. Be able to merge. Merging means that you're going to be changing lanes or coming in or coming out or making a turn at speed, and you've got to be able to manage the speed of the car and be aware of those cars around you. So merging in and out will then help you kind of advance forward if you're in a pack of traffic. Okay, so I see the cars getting over here. I'm tempted to move over to the center lane, but I don't see a 2-car advantage. I'm checking my mirrors to make sure that the lane is open if I do move. This lane tends to be slowing down. I'm going to use my signal here and then I go ahead and move, because I can move over to the right. And now this lane is advancing. Okay, so back to buses. Be mindful of buses. Buses make lots of stops. They will sometimes block the entire right-hand lane, and you get stuck there. They're also heavy, which means they're slow to move forward, to accelerate, and they're slow to stop. So don't pull in front of run if there's not a whole lot of room. Checking my mirrors, blinker on, changing lanes to the middle. This right lane here oftentimes will completely clear up as people get on the highway here. The white Subaru's not, but the car in front of me is moving. So here we go. So I'm checking the lights. I'm making sure nobody's coming through, like running the red light. Looks clear, going through. What else? Okay, so follow distances. I try to stay about 2 car lengths or more behind the car length in front of me. There's several different rules, like 10 miles per hour for every hang on. No, it's 1 second for every, I forget, never mind. I usually go at least 2 car lengths. I don't want to travel too close, especially if I'm behind a smaller, lighter vehicle, because they can stop faster than I can. With a heavy truck, maybe you're safer a little closer than that, because they can't stop quite as fast as you. But usually I want a 2-car distance. All right, so coming up on this light, it's red. I'm gonna have to pick a lane to start from. The right lane is a bit problematic because there's a right turn up here to a gas station. And sometimes guys will go forward and then have to slow down or stop because of the gas station. But I didn't see an advantage in the other one. So I'm checking my mirrors here. Can I merge over into the middle lane if need be? And I can. So I'm judging here. I'm looking. The left lane's still open. There's a guy that's turning right, but it didn't slow traffic down. Okay, so now there's no more turns off, so it's just going to be your normal traffic flow. I want to change lanes to the left, but it's not yet a 2-car advantage. Maybe it is. I'm checking my mirrors, rear view mirror. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go. Because I've got enough room now to get in front of the car that I just came around behind. That's why I want a 2-car advantage. It's to move around him, and now that I've moved out, he decides he wants to go faster. That's typically the case. If you want the guy next to you to speed up a little bit, just like make a move to pass him, he'll probably speed up a little bit. Let's see. Talked about follow distance. Okay, so if things are getting close, and I'm really concerned, or I need to really pay attention to the cars on the left or the right side or in front of me. Is he slowing down? Have I got enough room? Is the guy in the other lane coming into my lane? I will watch where the vehicle's tires intersect the road. Like this black car here to the right. Like if I look right where his tires intersect the road and focus on that location in space, I can really get a measure of how close he is to that white line, and that white line is the boundary for his lane. So rather than looking at the car, I look at where the tire's at, because the tires tell me more precisely where the car is. Same thing for the car in front of me. If I've got to slam on my brakes and not hit the car in front of me, I'm gonna watch where his tires intersect the road. I'm gonna focus on that location in space as I slow down to avoid hitting him. Okay, so this part of the drive now is more highly congested. So there's lots of places to turn left, lots of places to turn right, lots of stoplights. So this is where I have to pay attention and sometimes work the traffic. Oh, let's see, I'm checking my mirrors. The right lane may be opening up. I don't have space though. I got a guy in my right-hand mirror that's there, and there's enough room. I'm gonna go ahead and go. It's a little tight, but he's not moving forward. Okay, so I'm coming around him, and if need be now, I can get back in the middle lane. Here's another stoplight down here at the bottom of the hill, and there is a 7-Eleven down there that again offers a right lane block potential. But sometimes the right lane is clearer than the middle lane, less cars there because of people turning right. But again, I don't see an advantage. Maybe the left lane was an advantage, but I didn't have access to that. So now I'm up here, the lights turn green. I'm gonna keep my eye open on the left lane traffic to see if I can merge in. If somebody turns right up here and slows down the right-hand lane. Looks like it's gonna get slowed. All right, so I'm watching here. There we go. Sorry, had to do a little bit of a gun there. The right lane looks like it's got a bit of an advantage, but no, it's closing. Left lane, the left lane looks like it's going, so I'm gonna merge into the left lane. I don't turn around and look over my shoulder. All I did was look in my left-hand mirror to see if there was anybody on my left-hand side. Let's see, it's the weather. The weather, it's about 83 right now. Obviously it's sunny, the pavement's dry. That means the traction's usually pretty good. Watch out for people turning right that would block a lane, like the guy coming out of that station there. But now the right-hand lane is probably open. So here we go. I'm going to advance. When it's raining, you need to increase your stopping and maneuvering distances and so forth. Here's some utility work. I don't like being in the utility work cluster. So I'm contemplating going back over to the middle lane, but I don't see an advantage yet. When it rains, the first few minutes after it starts to rain, when the ground is just getting wet, usually presents the most danger, because that's when the oils that are already on the road are being lifted up to the surface and they form like this slush mix. He's gonna go, I bet. Yeah, look at that. Okay. I don't do that to people. I don't make cars slow down. Yeah, got it, buddy. And I don't like being behind big trucks. But he did all right to merge in. He's got the merge thing down. So after it's been raining for a while, or the pavement's wet already and has been, it's probably less slick than it is the first few minutes after it rains. So be mindful of that. And I've got an opening on the left if I need to merge. I'll judge how far we come up here on the light. I'm trying to ease over a little bit left to look around and see how much traffic's in the right-hand lane. It's open, and I'm gonna go. Let's see, now the white truck is still on my right quarter, but now he's dropped back. Okay, I'm looking. I maybe want to go to the right-hand lane. I'm not sure I got a two-car advantage, because the goal of a two-car advantage, again, is to get around the Honda in front of me, if I can. It looks rather tight, but I see brake lights now, so I'm going. Oh, look, there's a police officer. Hey, so folks are going to have a hard time passing the police officer. Oftentimes, I've never seen a cop, like, in the middle of traffic like this. I've never seen a cop go after somebody that passed them, but you never know. But we're all going to play it nice and, you know, nonchalant here as we pass the police officer. Several times I've been involved in like a big pack of traffic, and it's like, wow, this is really congested, and you get up to the front and you realize, oh, there's a cop in the front and nobody's willing to pass him. But we're all just going along with the flow of traffic. Let's see here. Be patient. I'm constantly watching my mirrors to know what's behind me, what my options are. There's probably somebody turning right here. Yep, so I'm gonna change lanes. I probably didn't need to, but there we go. What my options are left and right, and I'm looking forward. What's going on in front of me? Do I need to position myself properly to get through the light? Let's see here. Buses. I didn't talk about buses and railroad tracks. Buses, by law, are required to stop at railroad tracks. So if you're behind a bus and you know a railroad track's coming up there, you know you're going to stop unless you get around them. So watch for that. Let's see here. I think I've kind of gone over about everything that I wanted to talk about. A lot of it, though, is just knowing how and when to take risks. What risks are worth taking, what risks are not worth taking. If you take a risk, you're going to have to think beforehand, okay, what happens if I fail? What happens if this risk that I want for an advantage doesn't play off? Like right now, I don't like being behind the Kia here. Like, I see an advantage left and right, but not a two-car advantage until about now. This left lane is opening up and he's braking. So I'm going to make a move. If you make a bad move and you change lanes and you get behind a car that then all of a sudden goes slow, don't get frustrated. Don't tailgate people to put pressure on them. Just, you know, you win some, you lose some. Here's a cyclist that's going to pull right between some traffic. You wonder how people, like, you see on the news, cyclists hit. Well, that's probably not some cyclist minding his own business on the sidewalk with a runaway car. That's a knucklehead that's trying to cut through traffic and not really willing to take a good risk. But don't get frustrated. So be patient. You win some, you lose some. Sometimes your risk works out well, sometimes it doesn't. If somebody's tailgating me and on my tail, I won't brake check them. Brake check is when you slam on your brakes to check whatever somebody's doing in the back. They're gonna hit you. And that's not worth the hassle. Then you gotta call the cops, you gotta do the insurance, and people are pissed, and maybe there's gonna be a fight or something. Don't do that. What I will do, though, is I will slow down. Okay, the light turns yellow. There's no way to make it through the light by changing lanes or anything like that, so I'm just going to come to a stop. I will let off the gas a bit and kind of slowly slow down to motivate them to go around. Let them go around you. If somebody's really aggressive and they're trying to change lanes and get ahead of you, for Pete's sake, let them. I'm not the road police. I'm not here to enforce, the speed limit or the traffic laws, or hey buddy, don't go so fast, or something like that. And honestly, you never know what's going on with them. Like maybe they're trying to transport somebody to the hospital, or maybe there's some other emergency, like their family member's been involved in a car crash a mile down the road and they're desperately trying to get to somebody before they die or something like. Who knows? It's not my responsibility to enforce that, and I can't know the situation. So if they're willing to take great risk, let them be. Make room for them. Okay, so now we're down to 2 lanes. So this is where it gets a little bit tighter. Speed limit's 40. Speed limit. I will usually go above the speed limit, but not by much. I think the way the law is written, and this may vary from place to place, but a speeding ticket less than 10 miles over the limit doesn't go on your insurance or something like that. A lot of times police officers won't stop you unless you're going more than 10 miles per hour over the limit. So I will keep it to under 10 miles per hour over the limit. Usually. Okay, here's a bus, but he's pulled over. There's a railroad track up here, so he's definitely going to have to stop, so I do not want to get behind him. I don't see an advantage right lane, left lane. Maybe there's more of an advantage in the right lane, but not enough to justify moving, and traffic's tight, so I'm just going to sit and wait. Maybe I pulled up a little too tight for this guy again, but as you can see, I can still see the tires of the car in front of me. Let me look now over the checklist. All right, so rule number 1, I don't change lanes unless there's a 2-car length advantage. Rule 2, I need to get through the traffic light if at all possible. Number 3, learn how to merge. Sometimes you're almost playing leapfrog with the cars. So you're coming out and around and advancing through the pack. Follow distance, I do about 2-car lengths. I need to have time to stop. Obviously, if I'm behind a heavy vehicle, I can stop faster than they can, but if I'm behind a lighter vehicle, they can stop faster than I can, so be mindful of that. Don't swoop in and change lanes and pull in front of a heavy truck that doesn't have a whole lot of room, because he can't stop even if he wants to, and there's been people that have been hit because of that. When you stop, I haven't been the first person in line yet at a stoplight. You'll notice there's a white line that shows where you're supposed to stop. I will stop behind that line for 2 reasons. Number 1, when I start from a stopping position, I want the tires to have the most traction. That's when you really do need the most traction. And that white strip is paint. It's a coating on top of the asphalt, which makes it slipperier or more slippery. So I don't want my tires to be on the line, because I lose traction then and I'll spin the tires when I go to start. It's also, you can probably get a ticket if you pull forward of that line. So I will stop behind the line, both so that I've got traction, and I'm going to change lanes here now. Check the mirrors. Ooh, maybe that wasn't so good. Yeah, there's a bus. No, I'm changing back. Don't be afraid to go back and forth. You make a decision, you think it's good, you get in the other lane, you're like, well, that wasn't smart, go back. Who cares if you look silly? The guy behind you is going to go like, look at this idiot changing lanes, but you don't know him, and why should we care what they think? Don't be a dork or don't be a jerk, but don't worry about looking silly in front of people that don't know you, and even if they did, you really wouldn't care. Let's see here. Yeah, if you're going to use the phone, pull over. Again, that's back to risk management. I've got a little caddy that I use for my cell phone. I stick it in the CD player, the CD slot of the radio. So I haven't really used the CD player much. I've actually got some Baroque music here. We'll turn it up a little bit. I forgot to turn that up when we started, but maybe you need it down in order to hear me. All right, so we're coming up on I-4. This traffic pattern is wonky. They're doing construction down here. Sometimes it's better to be in the left lane. Sometimes it's better to be in the right lane. I'm not sure that I figured out a pattern, because the pattern changes. It just changed about 2 or 3 weeks ago, where they opened up a different lane for different stuff. I think the left lane is the best lane to get through, but I may be wrong. And I'm right here in the middle of an intersection, and there's people that want to turn right and come from the right and pull out in front and then turn left then onto the 50. I don't usually let people do that, because what they'll do is they'll pull right in front of you and they'll block traffic, and then they have to sit there and wait until the cross traffic clears, and then they block up lanes of traffic doing that. So I will not do that. I will not turn left across a lane of traffic where I have to sit in the lane blocking traffic going one way in order to get in the lane going the other way, and I don't like it when people do that to me. So I don't let them. And maybe that's a little bit on the rude side. They think I'm being a jerk or whatever, but I think it's a safety hazard. Speaking of which, if you need to merge or you need to change lanes, use your blinkers. I use my blinkers all the time to let people know what I want to do. A lot of folks will let you in. Some folks won't. If you really want to put psychological pressure on somebody to let you in, turn around and look at them. If you can make eye contact with somebody and, like, you know, say, hey, make a request with your hand or something like that. Can I get in here, please? Tell me if I'm wrong. What people do, including me, is if we're not going to let somebody in, we pretend that we don't see them. It's much easier emotionally or psychologically or whatever you want to call it to ignore somebody and pretend you don't see them than to make eye contact with somebody and still say, no, I'm not going to let you in. So if you need in, turn around, make eye contact with somebody and, ask with your face or something like this. This lady's yelling at the guy for not going. You're in traffic, silly. Good grief. By all means, get ahead of me. I don't want to be behind you. But now that the left lane's moved, I think I do want the right lane, because the left lane turned off for I-4, and then the right lane, I think, moves a little faster now. Okay, railroad tracks. Never stop on railroad tracks. Even if you don't think there's a train coming. Back to risk again. Are you willing to risk whatever the consequence was if the risk fails? And that's something that young men oftentimes have a hard time with, because the parts of our brain that develop at different rates. And so the part of our brain that develops, that responds to the thrill or the fun of doing something risky and being successful at it, that part of the brain develops before the part of the brain that actually is able to calculate risk properly. What if you fail? So young men will take great risks and they've never thought about what might happen if they fail. That doesn't usually develop until the mid-20s, and that's why insurance companies charge much, much higher rates of insurance before the age of 25. Once you hit the age of 25 or get married, which is interesting in itself, your car insurance rates will go way down, because the folks that study statistics, actuaries, look at who actually causes the accidents, and it's unmarried males under the age of 25. So that's why those insurance rates are up. All right, here's the school. Video's almost done. I park over here on the street, so I hope you're having a good day. I hope this has been somehow productive or profitable for you. There's my buddy Bondo. No students! So I'm gonna squeeze in here. Let's do this. There's no traffic. I'm going to do this. I'm going to show you how I parallel park if I don't cause too much of a traffic jam. Yeah, Brent's looking at me like I'm goofy. This is going to be fun. I'll tell him about the video in the end. Here's what I do. In order to parallel park, well, no, I can't do that. Never mind. Never mind. Belay that order. Be smart, get where you're going. Obviously, gaining a minute or two is not worth a wreck and death or dismemberment. I love you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.